All right, we are going, share screen. All right, welcome, gentlemen. This is our third virtual team meeting. In case there are any of you who are new, my name is Coach Clem. I'm one of the co-head wrestling coaches here. We will go through a couple of things tonight. Get the show screen back on. As always, when we get through stuff, we'll go ahead and share this information out to you. We'll start out with Coach Allen here in a minute, talking about some of our weight training stuff. I'll get some updates on kind of what we know from high school league and schedule type stuff. Coach Dan has got some nutrition stuff again. And I got some mental training and some goal setting, and then we'll kind of clean up there. Goal is to be in and out in a half hour. Just kind of get you guys information you need. Coach Allen, do you need me to turn the share screen thing over to you, or what do you need me to do?
Sorry. If you just pull up the virtual workout, that should be fine.
This one here?
Yep.
Perfect.
All right, so it is a lot of the same, except for I've kind of taken the 2 weeks and kind of meld them together. One thing you guys will notice with the changes, with any Olympic lifts, we're only going to do 5 reps. That's it. Okay, so what I'm looking for is 100%. When we do 10 reps, a lot of us get to 7 or 8, and then we just do the last 3 or 4 and call it good. Okay, so I'm looking for 100% on this, especially with front squats, okay, and then overhead squats. We're looking for 5 at 100%. Dumbbell shoulder press, hand fighting, that's kind of all the same as we have been doing. Okay, so there's not much change for that. Cardio gets boosted up a little bit, and instead of going 30 seconds or 45 seconds, we're now going a minute. Okay, so everything kind of gets worked up. We're working towards that first day of practice, whenever that may be. Okay, but we're going to start getting into a minute, and if this goes on longer, it might be minute 15, minute and a half. Okay, however long this goes, I'm going to continue to bump it up until we get to, obviously, the first day of practice. Okay. Non-weight workouts, that kind of stays the same, with kind of keeping it at 10, but also bringing up the amount that you're doing as well. So a lot of the same, but I've kind of taken the last 2 weeks and kind of melded them together and made it a little bit different. So that's what I got for you guys this week.
And as Coach talked last time, we have some of the descriptions of the workout type exercises down here on the bottom. So if you're not rock solid on what they are, there they are. If not, again, go ahead and make contact with Coach Allen, and he can square you up on that.
Hey, Coach Allen, how long do you expect them to work out for? Is it a 30-minute workout? Is it an hour workout? Can you at least give them a gauge of how long they should take?
The weight workouts should take 15 to 30 minutes. Okay. They're very quick, but they're very kind of high pace. The cardio, it'll take you 15 minutes at most. So they're very quick, but they're kind of high intense. There's not meant to be breaks in between them. Okay?
How long a break should we take between sets?
Maybe 15 seconds.
Okay.
When you're talking about maybe going from, let's say maybe you do dumbbell squat jumps and then you do front squats, maybe take 45 seconds to a minute. But if you're going from hand fighting to front squats, it shouldn't be any more than 15 seconds. Okay. DC guys know it. There's no standing around. Okay. for Lich guys that weren't able to be in DC's wrestling or weight room last year, with me, there's no standing around. Okay, I get way too bored watching you guys stand, so there's none of that with me. It's get in, get out, and that's what I do. So.
All right, thank you, Coach. There we go. I don't have to lock out. Okay, back here. All right, so moving on to my end. Like I said, the plan, or at least, again, we control the things we can control. The thought was the governor may kind of give us an inkling as to what he was going to do, and then that got pushed to Monday and got pushed to Wednesday. So we would love to say, here is the answer, and when we're starting practice. We don't have that 100% rock solid answer. We should have an answer by Wednesday, and when that comes out, obviously the coaching staff will get that to you. The high school league has given us kind of 3 potential start dates. Next Monday, December 21, or the Monday coming out of Christmas break, January 4, or 2 weeks after that, Monday, January 18. Like you, I hope it's sooner rather than later, but I'm going to wait for them to make that call, and as soon as we know, we will get practice going as soon as we are able. We do have our schedule. I'm going to pull up this link here. The Wright County Conference has pushed all of our Wright County Conference events off 1 month. So this Wrestling Watertown Mayor, which will be varsity, JV, and junior high. Junior high, anytime we wrestle a Wright County Conference opponent, that is a day that you will travel with us for sure to compete. But that was supposed to be Thursday, January 7. It's now been pushed off to a month. It's the first Thursday in February. Our Glencoe date was supposed to be the second week of January. It's now the second week of February. New London Spicer was supposed to be third week, now pushed off to the third week of February. Annandale was supposed to be last week of January, pushed off here. And Howard Lake's supposed to be the first week of February, now the first week of March. Let's see if anybody needs to get added to the meeting. Yep, there we go. Right now, team postseason is scheduled for, this is varsity, that is, team postseason is scheduled, whatever that is, whether that's team, individual, both. They kind of have it scheduled here March 8th through about March 19th. As of now, they have not made a call on, yes, we will have a state tournament and or when it will be. But we do have this week here of March 22 to 26 and 29 to April 2nd. These 2 weeks aren't really anything on anybody else's calendar because spring sports don't start here till April 5. So me being me, just kind of looking at it, there's 2 weeks set aside for a team postseason and an individual postseason. What that looks like, I honestly can't tell you as of today. And it's got 2 kind of weeks before spring sports start. You know, so to me, that's a good sign. Depending on when we start will depend on some of these reschedules, right? We were working under the idea, and I still think we're working under this idea that from, again, the varsity JV standpoint, you can wrestle up to 16 events. You can wrestle a dual or a try. So we're going to try and schedule tries as much as possible to get us as many matches as possible. But we are in the Coach Dan and I, we had a schedule built. We then had to rebuild it, and it looks like we're going to rebuild it a third time. So I know people would love to say, hey, Coach, can you tell me when we're competing? Well, the best I can do today is tell you that here is when our Wright County Conference events are scheduled, the Thursdays in February, and the first one in March. Here is when the team postseason is kind of blocked out. That's the best I can do today. As soon as the governor gives us a, here you can now start practice, we can then fast forward 8 days from that practice and say, okay, here's our first competition where we can start. And then from there, Coach Dan and I will build the rest of the schedule and get as many matches as we can with teams that are going to have hopefully high number of athletes so we can get as much mat time as possible. Junior high guys, we will try and schedule as well some junior high only events. Those are more geared for Mondays. I can't promise you how many they're going to be, but again, they're going to be right now dual or triangulars, right? Wrestling one other team or wrestling two other teams. This year, I don't know that we're going to get the Lich invite, DC junior high invite type events. I just don't see those happening this year, unless something changes, which that'd be awesome if it did, but I guess I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Coach Dan, let's turn it over to you for the nutrition side of things, and then I'll talk some goal setting, and then we'll move on.
Awesome. All right, here we go. All right, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Coach Bucher. I'm the other side at coach at Litchfield, so I'm the other co-head coach as well. Okay. I'm going to move quick on our nutrition talk this week. Try to save some things for Coach Clem on the mental training side. So hopefully you made progress on breaking this cycle. If you're not on this cycle at all, good. Okay, stay on the right track. Okay, what are we going to cover tonight? We're going to move on to protein. Protein helps build and repair muscles. It also helps you grow as humans. So how protein goes into your body and is used and how protein goes into my body and is used is different because you guys are still growing. Your bones are growing. Other organs are growing. Your muscles are growing. Where most of us adults, we're tapped out in terms of how high we are and so forth. So protein is pretty critical for you guys to be ingesting in all meals. Okay, number one rule, if you're serious about your training, and again, if you want to have muscles to power through a double leg takedown in the third period against the stud, that's why you train. That's why you recover. For those moments, those moments that doesn't seem like it's that big, but in the time it will become that big. So after your training, it's important that you guys ingest protein. I'll go into that next week about what it should be and what it shouldn't be. Okay. Protein's important. I said this already for humans for growth. It's not a main source of energy. So if you're relying on protein to relying on your training fuel, it's not going to lead you very far. If you skip protein in your meals, you're going to have muscle decay. So in other words, it's called muscle atrophy. Your muscles shrink. They get smaller. Okay. Your body is more slender. How much protein do I need a day? I'll come back to this calculator. And how much protein is certain foods, I'll come back to this calculator as well. So there's two links I want you guys to play around with this week. Okay, what should I be eating? Essentially, guys, white meat is lean. It's not high in fat. More of your red meat, so it gets a little bit more with fat. But typically your white meat is high concentrated in protein. Milk, chocolate milk, and there's the ultra filtered milk are all great sources. Eggs and egg whites. If I would tell you a great breakfast thing to add, that'd be eggs or some type of egg meal in the morning. Okay. What's nice about, I talked last week about carbohydrates, black beans, pinto beans, other beans as well. They have carbohydrates and they have protein in them as well, just like rice and brown rice and so forth. Okay, and the list goes on and on. If you guys go down to the bottom one, though, protein bars and protein shakes, they can be used as a resource, but that shouldn't be your only intake of protein during the day. And be careful on the brand because it's not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. So you don't quite know what's in those products unless it's a brand that gets tested by another party. And again, I can talk about that more when we talk about recovery nutrition next week. Okay? So what can you be doing? Consuming protein at every meal. If you skip breakfast, you need to start eating breakfast. And within that meal, consume protein. Okay? Go back to the food groups I talked about above. If you're not journaling your nutrition intake, then I guess it's really not important to you. I would suggest that you start doing that if you haven't started. Know what goes in your body. Okay? Describe how you feel when you eat certain foods. Okay? How do you feel after you eat a bag of chips versus how do you feel after eating something that's wholesome and nutritious? Okay? You might feel a temporary satisfaction of eating a bag of chips, but you're not going to have your training goals met if you're constantly fueling up on things that are not going to help you. Okay. I did attach this link as well. This goes to our website. I take a lot of the information from what I know and from what this PDF that we got from a guy for the nutrition talk. So you can go to this as well. What else you can do? Continue to eliminate the junk into your body. That includes anything that you know that will poison your body. So anything that it will be detrimental, okay? In other words, okay? If you're feeling you're making great gains, then don't change anything. You know, if it's not broke, don't try to change anything right now, okay? But if you want change, then you need to start acting now. So I'm going to go back to this slide here, and I'm not going to spend time on this, but this is the reason why you journal. Then you can go through your meal and say, okay, yep, that day I hit my protein per meal, okay? And I'm going through this and I'm looking for where am I consuming protein during my 5 meals, or maybe it's 3 meals, okay? You don't have to eat 5 meals a day. You don't have to eat 3 meals a day, okay? Feel out what is working for you, okay? So I'm going to go back to this one right now, and I'll put this up on the agenda list as well. There's many of these types of macro calculators, but essentially, let's pick on Bo, since I like picking on Bo. He's 18. Bo, how tall are you? Is he awake? I'm calling Bo 5'10" unless he changes.
Like 5'11".
5'11", okay. You 200 pounds right now?
Yeah, about.
Okay. Let's say Bo exercises about 4 to 5 times a week, okay? Let's say Bo wants to slim down here. He wants about 1 pound per week. Clicks on that one, calculate, and then it gives his protein intake for the day. Notice how it gives a range below it. So anywhere from 91 grams to 201 grams, okay? And again, this is why your journaling is important for you to do. If you don't think it's important, then how will you actually know? Okay. Does it take time? Yes. Okay. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes effort. But also, you can also spend less time on your phone doing the random things that you do during the day. Okay. But this will break down what Bo should have during the day if he wants to lose 1 pound per week. Okay. And then you can mess around with this and you can kind of see where you're at. Okay. And then that's the important part about recording what you're doing. Okay. The other one is a food calculator. So this one here, you can type in things that you're consuming. So I'll just take an egg. We'll just start with that one. So I type in the search bar up here. Okay. I click on here. The first one says egg. And it's going to give me their ingredients results, okay? So I see here, here's my fat content, here's my carbohydrates. So eggs are very poor in carbohydrates, but they have 6.3 grams of protein. So a higher fat content, higher protein content, a lower carbohydrate content. If you want to eliminate the fat, you separate the white from the yolk. And I know that some of you probably don't know what that is yet, but it's something that you can easily do. Okay, it just takes a little bit of practice. So you can look up whatever you want. You can look up, let's say we look up wild rice, okay, and then things will start popping up and you can look at nutrition labels this way. In fact, the funny thing is it gives you how long it takes to burn off some of that stuff as well, okay? So this will be a great tool, especially for those of you that will be cutting weight during the season, at least to do it in a healthy way so you can monitor what you're intaking as well. So that's the second tool. And again, it's found on this slide as well. And I'll share them out another way. And then the last link, and I'll turn it back over to Clem. This is taken from our website. And if you go to nutrition, if you want to read things from what I'm taking it from, here's the contents. Let's say you want to go to protein and read what he has to say about it, then go to page 19. Okay. Our goal this year is to go through all of these things so you guys are well educated, all right, on the year. Just because you're educated doesn't mean you always make the correct decision. Okay. And there's a difference between knowing and actually doing. Okay. You may know how to do something, but the doing part is where you actually see improvements. Just like with training, if you know how to squat, it's not effective unless you actually get in the gym and you squat. Okay. If you know how to eat right, it's not effective if you're not doing it. Okay. Nothing will be effective unless you start doing it. So that's my goal for you guys for this week. Anything you guys want to add or any questions for me?
When you were talking about your fuel source for working out, you said proteins weren't necessarily your fuel source. If we had someone who came in this week for the first time, what would have been that main fuel source for the workout?
If it's right before a workout, I'd say it's a piece of fruit, such as a banana, and maybe it's a protein bar, maybe it's a protein shake, maybe it's a glass of milk, something that can be digested very quickly. Okay, but paired with some type of fruit. I would avoid anything really heavy, a really heavy meal. But some people work out after eating really heavy. That's fine too. Do what works for you. On the tail end of it, make sure that you're consuming something at the end, and it needs to include a protein and a carbohydrate. But I'll talk more about that next week. Oh, one quick thing I want to talk about too. So if I go back to Bo, his macros were, let's take it's 144. Okay, let's say Bo eats 5 meals a day. I take 144 divided by 5. It's about 30 grams per meal. That's what he's shooting for. Okay. You don't want to ingest 144 grams in one meal. That wouldn't be very good. Your body's not going to take it all in. It's not going to digest it very well. So again, spreading that out and understanding what you're putting in your body. And again, it goes back to getting up on time. Okay? Getting up on time, setting yourself up for success during the day. Okay? Even if you're tired in the morning. Okay? All right.
All right. I'll hit the last couple of minutes here. Turn over. Couple of things that you've probably heard more than once, and whether that's Coach Allen talking about the weight room kind of thing, whether that is Coach Bucher talking about the meal kind of thing, or whether that's kind of me talking about all the things that I've been covering. Two things kind of come to mind to me. One of them is consistency, right? And the second is writing things down and journalizing. You know, whether that's journalizing what you're doing in a weight room, what you're doing for meals, knowing where your food is coming in, knowing what kind of work you're getting out. It does take time. We're not saying it doesn't, right? We're not saying that it doesn't take time to write down in a journal how my practice went. We're not saying it doesn't take time to have something written down, or maybe it's on your phone. I guess I'm old school thinking writing it down with a piece of paper and pencil. But if you've got something on a phone or something where you can track what you're doing, I think you get a lot more out of it, right? If you just roll into the weight room whenever that opens back up and you go, well, I'm just going to go work out today with no rhyme or reason or plan, maybe you have 1 or 2 days that are good, but you're not very consistent, right? You need consistent training. You need kind of a plan. If it's talking about your nutrition and you're going to go up a weight class because you need to get bigger, or you need to go down a weight class because you need to, go down because there's somebody else in front of you, right? You got to find a way to, hey, I want to make the lineup, but I'm not likely to make it at this weight. I got to go down a weight, right? that isn't going to just happen by kind of hoping, right? You need to be detailed out. You need to journalize these things. When we talk about kind of our mindset, our mental training, again, we're going to talk about kind of writing some things down. So this is one that I have borrowed from a website called Wrestling Mindset. We've done this in pieces over the years. But when we're talking about goal setting in general, do you have a clear goal, and is that goal written down? Do you look at that goal on a daily basis? Whatever your goal is. And again, your goals can range from, I just want to be in better shape and become a better football player next year. 100% okay. Write that goal down and look at it every day. Maybe your goal is, I want to be a state entrant or a state placement or a state champion. Okay. Maybe you want to be maybe your goal is to make the varsity lineup. If it's a goal you have, write it down, and that is going to help you both on the, before I go to practice, why am I going to practice? Other than, well, Coach Clem or Coach Dan or Coach Culbertson isn't going to let me wrestle if I don't go to practice, which that is true. But if you have a rhyme and a reason, if you have a goal before you even walk up and stretch, you're going to get a lot more out of that practice as opposed to just showing up and saying, I'm here, let me find a way to get through the next 120 minutes. Okay. Looking at other things from a goal setting standpoint. Do you know where you're at, right? From a technique standpoint, from a strength and conditioning, from a nutrition standpoint. Where are you strong? Where are you weak? Right? Where do you need to make gains? Okay, could journalizing, talking to a coach, talking to an upperclassman help you with that? Do I take personal responsibility for my mistakes and my weaknesses? Or do I make an excuse and say, it's somebody else's problem, that's why I didn't fill in the blank? Didn't make weight, didn't lose weight, didn't win the wrestle off, didn't win the match, right? Is it you and your responsibility, or did the referee screw you over, right? We talk about mental toughness, right? Talking about things like, am I worried about getting tired of my matches, and that's why I don't necessarily go out aggressive right away? I want to save my energy, right? Do you practice that way, right? Do you go kind of through the motions and don't necessarily put as much as you possibly could into practice because you want to save a little bit because you don't like running sprints, or whatever it happens to be? Do you have a set of core beliefs that you're going to follow through with, right? Your values, your morals, right? The standards you hold yourself to. And again, we'll send this out to you, asking you to fill this out before we start practice. From a motivation standpoint, we've asked this in different ways, shapes, or forms. Some guys are kind of quiet, reserved guys. They don't want somebody in their ear talking to them, getting them ready for a match. They just want to kind of relax and do their own thing. Other guys, they want a coach, in their ear, kind of jawing at them, getting them squared up. Different guys need different things. That's one of the challenging things from a coaching staff. We're not all cookie cutter athletes, right? So as we get to know you, as we get to develop that relationship with you, we hope that sooner rather than later, we know what buttons we got to push to get you to get the most out of yourself. Okay. Are you someone who can easily block things out? Are you someone who uses those things as motivation? And again, there's not many. Some do, some don't, right? And I can recall it's one of our athletes who's coming back this year, and this was coming into our section tournament, and I remember, for those guys who know, and again, Coach Dan and I are different, and we're not, and that's okay that we're different. I'm not a huge fan of saying, here's the bracket and go look at it, because guys will look at it and go, oh, I'm the fill in the blank, the number 3 seed, 5 seed, 4 seed, 1 seed, and then it starts messing with how are they anticipating their workout to be? How are they going to warm up? How are they going to wrestle? It doesn't matter who the athlete is, right? Maybe they're good, maybe they're not, but it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't change how you go attack the match. Very few, in my opinion, athletes will look at a bracket and get a positive bump in what they do. Now, this athlete that I'm thinking of was, in my opinion, kind of the exception to the rule. This athlete looked at the bracket, saw where he was seated, and was pissed. And he was just upset that he thought he deserved a better seed or whatever that happens to be. And I kind of looked at that athlete, and I've known this athlete for a while, and his comment back to me is, I'm going to go win the blanking bracket, is what he said, right? And that was his motivation. And that's what he did, right? He went out and had an outstanding tournament. Again, I would say most of us don't look at the bracket and go, ooh, that's my motivation. For this athlete, it happened to be, right? And did a great job getting himself ready to go. That's part of us getting to know you and what's going to work for you to get you up and get you ready. Regardless of who you get thrown out against, regardless of who your opponent is, your goal is always the same. Be aggressive and score points until the referee stops the match. That's all you should worry about. That's all you should focus on. Are you someone who can let things go, or do you drag a poor performance from match 1 onto match 2 and match 3 and match 4, right? You lose a match that maybe you thought you should have won. Are you a person who drags that poor attitude into your next matches, and all of a sudden, yeah, maybe you dumped the first match, but you could have wrestled back for third, but you find out that I didn't win the one I should have, and now somehow you lose to somebody in the second round who you, again, maybe shouldn't have lost to, and now you're sitting 0-2 out of the bracket when you should still be wrestling, right? Can you let things go? Can you just kind of let it run off your shoulders? From a pressure standpoint, again, some guys deal really well with pressure. When the more pressure is on, they perform better. Other guys, not so much, right? So looking at identifying yourself and how do you work, what makes you click, then that'll help us as coaches help put you in that environment so that you're optimized and you're doing the best you can. Another section here on confidence. Another section here kind of on clarity. Do you know what you're good at? If we told you, tell us what your number one takedown was, what your number one setup, what your number one turn from top, do you have that, or do you just go out and scrap and see what happens? Right? And then last one here is talking about aggressiveness. Right? Are you the one who takes the first shot in the match? Are you winning, or are your matches won mostly by bonus points, or are you, I'm going to go get the first takedown and I'm going to ride that 3-1 lead to a win? Or are you always out there trying to score points? You know, again, looking at these things to try and understand yourself so that we can help you plan, prepare, and make sure you're ready before we send you out of the mat. So, again, as we finish up here tonight, we will share the agenda. We'll make sure we share the links. Again, if it was a link created by Coach Dan, then he will turn around and I'll need to make a copy of it to make sure the DC guys get it. If it was a link that I made, then Coach Dan will make a copy of it. We're still working with our IT people to get it so a Google Doc can just be shared to anybody, but that's, we're not quite there yet. Wednesday is when we think we will have more clarity on where we're at and whether that is we're game on, ready to go the 21st of December for practice or not, right? That's the first possible date that we could be strapping up the shoes and going to practice. And as soon as we know, we will let you know. I think we got some guys maybe competing this upcoming weekend, like Friday, Saturday. Good luck to you guys. Go out, be aggressive, give mat time. And then coaches, we're going to stick around for a little bit once all the athletes take off. Just a couple things to chat about. But Coach Dan or Coach Allen, Coach Brad, Coach Halverson, Coach Culbertson, anything to add as we finish up tonight? I don't see anything from any of those guys. So if you have a question, by all means, hit it in the chat real quick if it's wrestling related. If not, I'm going to turn the recording off here, and you guys have a good week of training, and we will see you. We'll either see you in person next Monday, or we will do another one of these virtual coaching meetings if we are not practicing next Monday. So thank you for your time, gentlemen. All right, stop recording.